Okay. Well, good afternoon, ladies. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very special treat and one of my very favorite presenters who is here with us today, Cindy Saylor. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today and helping us create our unstoppable life.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Thank you. And it's always a pleasure to be one of your presenters. It's something that I definitely look forward to. For those of you who may not know me, I am your presenter this evening. I am a practitioner of neurolinguistics. I am also a neuro encoding specialist, and then also a brain certified health trainer. And something that I truly believe in is that we need to take care of our brain, but also our mental thoughts. And that's a basics of my personal performance business. What we're also going to do is we are going to make sure that this is a safe space for everyone. One of the things that we're going to do is when we do personal development, we may get into some deep-seated feelings or things that may be bothering you. And what we want to do is make sure that each and every one of us is held at a very high place, in a safe place to be able to share their thoughts with absolutely no judgment. We're not here to judge. We are here to help support each other. So this is going to be a personal development along with some mental fitness for your workshop. Now, one of the things that we are going to do is, for being unstoppable, there's something that I have learned. And I think you've all heard this before. And you may also practice it. We could do 1,000 things very well. But that 1,001 thing, that one thing that didn't go very well, what do? We dwell on it. What we're going to do right now is, because each and every one of you showed up tonight, which means this is important to you, we need to praise ourselves. You all know how I work. If you've been to one of the workshops before, we start off by praising ourselves for showing up. And to do that, we're actually going to do it. So for everyone, I want you to raise your hand up above your head, up above your head. I want you to turn your hand facing backwards, bend your elbow, and now pat yourself on the back for being here. It is important that we praise ourselves no matter how small or how big the task is. It doesn't matter. And what I could see from the smiles on the faces that are able to have their picture visual, you're all smiling. This is something that you can do any time of the day at anywhere. You could do it, well, maybe driving, not too sure, keep both hands on the wheel, but you want to make sure that you praise yourself for the things that you do. Why is this important? When we constantly tell ourselves, tell our brain, we did something wrong, we failed, we were worthless, we didn't show up the way we wanted to, we keep wiring our brain and telling ourselves, because it's repetitive, and we want to break that cycle. We want to break the cycle of the dialogue that we have with ourselves. And that is what neurolinguistics is all about. It's the language of our brain. It's the communication that you have with yourself, that you have with others, and also the view of the world, and how the language that you use affects your life. So this is why we want to praise ourselves as often as possible, because we want to rewire our brain. So welcome to being unstoppable by doing your first active action item. And now we're going to move along with our program. Here is the lineup for our program today. Personal development to be unstoppable. We're going to focus on the 3 to thrive, which consists of your state of being. And those 3 things are physiology, which is our body, focus, what we're thinking about on a regular basis, language, the words and phrases we use. And then we're going to tie that into the wheel of life. You're going to want to take notes. And you're also, what we're going to do is we're going to work through the workshop first. If you have any questions, let's wait till the end of the program, jot them down. Because what we'll do is we're going to get through the program first, and then we're going to do the Q&A. And I am more than happy to stay a little later if we need to get everyone's questions answered. So the 3 to Thrive, this is something that I do on a regular basis, and I incorporate it into my practice because I've seen how it has changed my life. And I really believe that it's going to help you, each and every one of you, be able to change something in your life starting this evening. Sometimes what happens is we can get stuck on something, kind of like that 1001 item that we didn't do very well. Basically, my programs are all about a journey. You're here on Earth for a journey, and you get to embark on voyages. I look at them as voyages. Like any type of trip that you plan for, you're going to make plans, you're going to map things out, and then you're going to embark on that journey. But sometimes we don't disembark. We tend to hold on to things way too long. These are the things that hold us back. We have this dialogue in our head. It'll get better. I'll just stick it out. It's okay. There's nothing else out there for me. What also ties into this is you're going to learn about the physiology that happens when we do this, what we're focusing on when we have those dialogues, and of course, the language that I just shared with you. We're going to go ahead and get started with the 3 to Thrive. As you can see by the diagram, your state of being is in the middle. And it is affected. Your state of being is basically your energy, how vibrant you are in your life. And what that consists of is your physiology, what you're focusing on, and the language that you're using. All these 3 things you have control of. You could change them at any time. It's about being aware. Awareness is going to be your key number 1 thing to creating your personal development. Excuse me. You know, sometimes we have these unfavorable situations that we're in. And when we're in these situations, sometimes we don't realize that we can change them even while we're in the thick of them. Exercise number 2, and yes, this is another active action item. I want you to put all your energy, active energy, into getting really mad, getting really angry. I want you to feel this right now. I actually want you to go through this little exercise right now and get mad and get angry. I want you to feel it. I want you to feel how your body feels, what the words you're saying. Who is ready to do this with me? Who's ready to get angry and get mad? When you do this exercise, you are going to be focusing on how your body feels. Is it tense? How you're breathing? What your face feels like? Are you ready? At a count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Get mad. Oh, get angry. Get frustrated. Yes. Get frustrated. Oh, can't believe I did that. Now, take a moment. How does that make you feel? What is happening in your body? Was your body tense? Were your muscles tense? Did you feel the tension? Did you see how the color of your face changed? The wrinkles? Did you have short of breath? Maybe you were holding your breath. See, our physiology is about when we hold our breath, right? How we change our body. Now, let's do the opposite. Let's get excited. Let's get happy. I don't know about you, but we are going to go from being crappy to happy in a split second. Are you ready? At a count of 3, we are going to get excited. We're going to show joy. We're going to raise the roof and be excited. 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Does that not feel different than the first example? Take a moment and feel the difference between being crappy and being happy. And it only took a second to be able to change that. How did you feel? Were you up? Did you have your chest out? Did you feel like you were in control? Were you able to breathe? Was your language different? With this simple example, we showed you physiology, what you were focusing on, and also the language. When your state of being is in question, when you find yourself going, why am I acting this way? Check into your physiology. Check into what you're focusing on, and also the language that you're using. And usually what you can do is go stop. Use that wonderful little stop method and go stop. And take a breath. And then be able to collect yourself, because your state of being is the way you are showing up in your life. The way you're showing up for your family, the way you are showing up at work, the way you're showing up at your community, maybe at church, whatever you're involved in, your state of being is your physiology, what you're focusing on, your emotions, and also your language. That is what you're displaying out there. So let's do a little bit, a deeper dive. State of being is your energy level. We are all energetic individuals. You can be a high vibrating, energetic individual from serving people out of a place of love, or you could also have this energy level that is just so heavy and you just feel down. Your state of being really matters about where your energy is. And you want to check in to that energy level. And when you're able to do that, you're able to really focus on, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? Ask questions. Be inquisitive. Be curious. Be curious on why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Did something happen to create your energy level shift? Did you wake up feeling crappy and not check it at the door before you went out for the day, and you just ended up having a crappy day? Or did you wake up feeling great? You just did the little exercise on how it feels to be angry and frustrated. And you also did the counterpart of it. You did the contrast. You got to do the contrast of how it feels to feel happy and joyous. I truly believe we are here on this planet for a reason, and it's not to be struggling through life. It is about thriving. It's about being unstoppable. And when we are able to check the state of our being before we do anything, ask yourself, if you are going to take a phone call or make a phone call, ask yourself, is this call going to serve my higher purpose? Is this call going to be able to make me happy? Am I going to be able to serve? When you get ready to eat something, is this food going to nourish my body? Is it the right thing I want to do for myself? You want to nurture your state of being with everything that you're doing and be aware. Awareness is key, especially your energy level. You did the energy test already. You know what that energy felt like of being mad and angry. But you also felt the energy. Which energy level do you prefer to live, to be unstoppable? Being unstoppable, can we actually maintain that with the level of energy that might be like a 1? Is that possible? Most likely not. What we want is that level 10. That's being unstoppable, being at that level of 10 in every aspect of your life. So physiology, we went from going like this to changing it to doing this. How easy is that to change your body language? What happens when we are frustrated or angry? We tend to hunch our shoulders, which collapses our chest, which forces us to take short, shallow breaths. And this is something, or we also hold our breath. And this is something that we don't want to do. We want to be able to take deep, long breaths. Because what does breathing help us with? Oxygen. Oxygen serves our body. Oxygen serves our brain. Oxygen is one of the number key components of having a healthy brain. It allows blood flow. Blood flow is crucial to having a healthy brain. So our physiology affects how our body is reacting to things. Our voice. Could you tell that it was hard to actually speak when you're angry and frustrated? But when we were up here and alive and we were big, we had a bigger, broader voice. This is part of the physiology that happens when we're happy or we're crappy. And I absolutely love that phrase because it makes me giggle. And it just makes me realize I don't want to be in a crappy mood. But it also reminds me of checking in to how we are showing up with our body. Are we tense? Are we not breathing well? And are we limiting our vocals not to be heard? Because that's putting us in a place that keeps us in this very small place. And for all of us to be unstoppable, we want to be out and proud. We want to show ourselves. And it also affects our attitude. Who here has been cut off driving in your car on the highway? You're listening to some music, and then all of a sudden your attitude changes. You're getting ready to flip somebody off. You're using foul language. All of a sudden, you've gone from being happy to crappy. But you know what? You don't have to. Because you get to control it. You get to tell your brain how to handle that situation. Because the way the brain is wired to remember your experiences. And the number of times you have experience of people cutting you off and you react the same way, it's because your brain is telling you to do that. Because it remembers. It remembers, well, that time that person cut you off, this is how you reacted. So do it again. And it ends up being a repetitive motion that you can change. And you can change it very easily by saying, go right ahead. You're not going to ruin my day because I'm in a happy mood. Rewire your brain. It's awareness. It's awareness that if someone's going to cut you off or you're going to have an experience, you can change that experience. And you could rewire yourself by doing that. The physiology, if you feel that you're going to walk into an interview, do you want to walk into an interview like this? Like slumped over? Or do you want to walk into an interview proud, strong, ready to deliver? Each experience, each way you do that, you're going to have a different experience. Your experience is going to be completely different. When you show up feeling strong, it's a big change to how you present yourself and answer those questions during an interview. And you're going to be calm. Calm is the key. But when we're frustrated, it's a little hard to reach out for calm. And how can you change your physiology? The first thing to change is your physiology. Is to make that big significant change going, oh no, I'm ready for this. Get that voice going, right? I'm ready. I've got this. Attitude. You walk in with attitude. What do we focus on? Well, that kind of goes back to that 101 thing that we didn't do well. But I want to take you on a little journey for just a different visual. You're driving in your car. You're on a dirt road. There's nobody else out there. You're alone, and it's pedal to the metal, and you're driving and having a great time. But for some reason, you've lost control of the car. And you see a light pole. Do you focus on the light pole or do you not? Because if you focus on the light pole, guess where you're going to be heading? Straight for the light pole. How can it be that there are more accidents on rural roads when nobody's around? It's a one-car incident and they hit a light pole. And the light poles are spaced out like 10 to 20 feet. Because the individual is focusing on the light pole. What you focus on is going to happen. You want to look away from the light pole. You don't want to look at the damage that might be coming at you. Look away from the light pole. You have to train your brain to do this. Are you going to focus on the positive or the negative? You know, one of my clients, here's another story. He has this opportunity to fly in one of the F-14 fighter planes. Now, keep in mind, he is, if I recall, like 5'4", just slightly taller than me. I'm 5'2". And his first go around, he actually bailed because he was so nervous and scared. He got into the pilot seat. Of course, there's a co-pilot behind him, but he got in the pilot seat, so he's first. And because of his height and because of the way the plane is built, he's not able to see over the dashboard. What was he focusing on? He was focusing on the fact that he could not see where he was going. His body language, his physiology became very tense and frustrated, like, this is not going to work. We're going to die, even though he has a co-pilot, right? And then the language he was using. There's no way in heck I'm going to do this. Absolutely not. So he bailed. His first opportunity, he bailed. He calls me and goes, I don't understand how they could even think that a 5'4" person that can't see over the dashboard is capable of flying this plane. So I asked him, what were you focusing on? I can't see over the dashboard. What should you be focusing on? I can't see over the dashboard. We all know that there's panels in the airplane. There are tools and gauges on the airplane. And one of those gauges is that there's a horizon line. There's a gauge that has a little plane with a horizon line. That's where he needed to focus on. Once I got him to see what he should be focusing on, he's like, I'm going to go fly an F-14. Complete different change of perspective. Complete change. So focus definitely connects to our feelings, but it can also hold us back. Because we may live in fear, we may say no to ourselves because we're so focused on the wrong thing. And instead of being resourceful to figure out, these military guys would never put somebody in a plane if they didn't think they could fly it. They just wouldn't do it. His experience the second time, he was so gung-ho, he got his little jumper on and he was ready to go. And guess what? He had a time of his life because he knew what he needed to focus on. He did not need to see where he was going. He just needed to focus on the panel, and he was capable of flying that plane. It's almost as if you can go back and remember when you were learning to drive the car for the first time. What were you focused on? For me, I was worried about damaging the car. I was worried about maybe hitting somebody or something. I didn't, but the first thoughts that we have, that we focus on, there could either be positive or negative. One of the things that we should be looking at is that it's not a problem, it's a possibility. The obstacle is not an obstacle. It is actually an opportunity. And this is when we should ask ourselves questions. How am I able to do this? What are my resources? How am I able to make this work? Instead of getting stuck, we get stuck on that negative, and we have to try to pull ourselves out of that. And the best way that I have found, ask questions. Be curious, be inquisitive. And one of the biggest questions is, what do I want? I want to fly that plane. I don't want to hit that pole. I want to get my car out of this spin and be back on the road. You can think that quickly when you're in these situations instead of shutting down. So number 2 is what are you focusing on in your life? Because if you're focusing on the things that are not working out for you, focus on the things that have worked for you. Because that can show you that you have accomplished something. You want to be able to engage in the right emotion. You want to rewire the brain to know the difference, to say, I can do this, I will do this. Which leads to words and phrases. Words and phrases are huge. This is the language. This is basically what neurolinguistics is all about, is the words and phrases that we grew up hearing, that we repeat on a regular basis. And of course, they do tie into our emotions. when we're able to focus on our language and know when we tell ourselves, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm not worthy, it's not for me, we keep telling our brain to keep filing these words in our filing system. Because remember, the brain is structured to keep you safe. And what it's going to do is when you're faced with a situation, it's going to go into its database and go, woohoo, do you remember this situation? This is how you need to react. For instance, when the person cuts you off when you're driving your car. Are you going to have the foul language? Because if you have the foul language, all you keep doing is telling your brain, when this situation happens, this is the way I want to react. But remember, your thoughts are extremely powerful because they also create cortisol, which is a stress hormone, or they also create the 4 happy hormone chemicals. The serotonin, the oxytocin, the dopamine. These are the ones that you want to tap into. Every thought, positive or negative, every word that's either positive or negative creates a chemical in your body. And when you are in that fight or flight situation, you are creating a lot of cortisol. Now, there is a need for cortisol in the body, but not an extreme amount. When you have an extreme amount of cortisol, your body creates inflammation. The body starts to break down. Cortisol is not a good thing to have an excessive amount of flowing through your body. So phrases, there's a lot of phrases that we use that keeps us stuck into this limited belief situation. And a lot of these things we learn when we grow up. For one, my last name is Sailor. So you could only imagine all the things that the kids would tease me growing up, that I was either Popeye or captain of the ship. And when I started my personal performance business, I called it Sailor's Journey for a reason. And when I was working with a networking group, I had a lady actually tell me, why would I want to do business with you? I don't like the name of your business. Now, before I created my business and done all this work, I would have said, oh, really? Okay, so let me change it. Let me go ahead and change. I would change myself. I would make those changes because of what somebody else told me. And I've done this a lot of times, that I've done what people wanted me to do, what people thought I was really good at. But this time around, I knew I was on the right track, not to conform and to believe somebody else. Because it is a journey, everyone. You are on a journey here on earth, and I truly believe you have a purpose to serve, to be of service, to help somebody else. And it's a number of voyages that you embark on, but you also want to disembark on. Sometimes we hold on to things for way too long because other people think that we should. No, you're really good at that, right? No, you're going to be really good at that. I've come full circle, and I have used this model of the triad to get me to where I am. Sailor's Journey is all about helping individuals be able to develop their skills and to find their true purpose, and to know that we are not our past. We have bright futures, and you can be unstoppable doing it. language. In that situation of somebody saying that they would not do business with me, I could have had some language for that individual. Oh boy, could have I had some language. And it was spinning around in my head. My body was getting tense. What did I do? Stop. And I took a breath. Because there's no need for me to go all cray-cray on somebody. Not going to help the other person. It's certainly not going to help my higher being. It's not going to help my state of being. My state of being is to be calm. My state of being is to be serving at a high level of love every step of the way, every day. And what happens is sometimes we'll have people come into our lives and they're going to detour it. But how you show up in that situation matters. Your physiology, what you focus on, and also your language. Now, what you can do with the triad is just not do this for staying in a great state of being. What you can do is the wheel of life. A lot of you may have already seen something like this in some personal development. But the wheel of life consists of areas of your life that you're spiritual, money and finances, you've got your career and work, health and fitness, fun and recreation. Well, of course, we want to have fun. Your environment, community, family and friends, and then also your partners in love. And then let's not forget your personal growth. Why is this important? We want to balance. We want to balance our life. And when we know about the triad, about our physiology, our focus, and also our language, you can take all of those three aspects and incorporate them in each one of these areas. This works a world of good to keeping you on track of what's important to you. And one of the things that you want to do when you go through this process is you want to, of course, ask yourself questions. You want to ask questions on what is my spirituality? How spiritual am I? What can I do to be more spiritual? And is this something that you want to write down in your calendar that you are going to attend church every week? Maybe you become part of a church group. What you want to do is go, and then how is my physiology going to be? Because if you feel like you're forced to go to church and you just walk in like, okay, I'm here because it's something that my coach told me to do, or are you going to be like, yes, I want to be here. I want to do this spiritually for myself. Then what words are you going to use? I'm sorry, what are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on the sermon? Are you going to focus on the song? Are you going to focus on how you feel while you're sitting there during the service? Are you going to be positive? Or are you going to be negative? Like, oh my God, I can't believe he's talking about that again. Why are those people not listening? Why are they having a conversation? Are you more worried about what other people are doing in church? Or are you there for yourself? So what you could also do is, of course, the words and language you want to use. And I would highly recommend that when you do the wheel of life is that you write down spiritually, this is what my body is going to be. This is how I'm going to show up. You write it down. And this is how I'm going to show up. These are the words that I am going to use when I am going to entertain my spirituality. Your spirituality could also be sitting down and meditating. Whatever, whatever you prefer, it's your choice. But you're going to want to, are you going to be hunched over with earbuds on doing your meditation? Or are you going to be cross-legged, if you can cross your legs? Sometimes you get a little older and that's a little harder to do. But are you going to cross your legs? Are you going to sit up? And are you actually going to take those deep breaths for your spirituality, to connect to your true inner self? Are you going to show up? Use the triad in each of these areas and ask yourself, how do I feel about money? Well, if you have a negative attitude about money and finances, it may be a fail for you. But if you say, you know what? I'm a maniac about money. Have fun with it. Come up with clever words. I'm a maniac about money. Now, did you see how my physiology changed? Did you hear how my voice changed? Did you see how I was excited about it? By changing my physiology, by changing my voice, by having a clever word. You know, there's a reason why Dress for Success came up with the word unstoppable. Because you should be unstoppable. There should be nothing getting in your way to you enjoying the life that you are meant to live. So what about career and work? How do we feel about our career? How do we feel about working? And yes, the darn pandemic has really thrown us in a tizzy about work. And it's been very complicated. Wondering if you could still go to work, wondering if you could be in front of people, wondering if, God, are we going to like shut down again? Yes, it's been difficult. We could focus on that, but how far is that going to get us? Or is it going to stop us in our tracks? To be unstoppable is to look at the opportunities in front of you. It's to take those obstacles and turn them around to making them opportunities. So career and work, are you doing what you love to do? Maybe not. But knowing that you have a job, that you're able to take care of yourself and your family, what if you said, I am so thankful. I am blessed to have this job. I am blessed to be able to do this for myself and my family. The verbiage, once again, the words. Feeling proud that you have a job, feeling proud that you've got that career. And if you feel that you want more, maybe there's another opportunity in the job that you have. Not only be unstoppable, why not be exceptional in what you're doing? Because when you're exceptional at your work, you're able to gain traction and momentum to go farther. You could even probably get promotions. Don't worry about what the other people are doing. You just worry about yourself, right? You need to focus on you. You focus on you and you work with your physiology on how you feel about your job. You work on the words. If you wake up on Monday going, oh, I dread Mondays, have all of your Mondays been crappy? Why not wake up and go, I am blessed to have another day. I have another beautiful day and I am going to meet some wonderful people today. Those are the words that you would like to have with your career, with your work. Who am I going to meet today? Who will I serve today? Who am I going to help? Language. We get so caught up and we create these dialogues and these narratives, and they're stuck in our head, and we just repeat them over and over again. Well, if we can set up things that are so crappy for ourselves, why not turn it around and be happy and be thankful for what we do have? Because there's one thing for sure: fear and gratitude cannot live in the same space. Only one of them can. Only one. And you have a choice. Health and fitness. Be blessed that you've got this body. And guess what that body does for you? Your feet take the steps for you to get to work, for you to drive your car. Thank God I'm able to get in my car and drive, because there's a lot of people that can't. My body is a temple. My body does so much for me. And it does it unconditionally, like breathing, oxygen, oxygen that serves our entire body and our brain. How well are we taking care of ourselves? Or do we always tell ourselves, oh, I'm going to try that exercise routine, but I know I'm going to fail? Well, when you tell yourself that, do you actually do the exercise routine? Or you say, oh, I'll start tomorrow. Let's do another little active action item, folks. Put your hand up straight in front of you. I know we might be covering up our screen, but that's okay. And now say, I'll do it tomorrow, and you're going to move forward. Okay? 1, 2, 3. I'll do it tomorrow. Where's tomorrow? Can anyone tell me where's tomorrow? Oh, we pushed it out, right? We pushed tomorrow farther out. Tomorrow never comes. But today, you have today to make these changes. So when you have this notion or this thought comes to you and goes, you know, I'm going to start that tomorrow, just remember where tomorrow lies. It's way ahead of you. You start today. Fun and recreation. I'm all about having fun and recreation, because you know what that does? It taps into our happy chemicals for our brain. We must schedule time to have fun. That could be listening to music. It could be dancing. It could be out in the park with your kids. One of the things that I absolutely love, it's got to be one of my favorite things, is listening to a child giggle. It stops me in my tracks. And all I want to do is join in and giggle with that child. Happy hormones, happy brain chemicals, fun and recreation is a must. So our environment, what kind of environment are we creating around ourselves? Are we creating a hostile environment, or are we creating a happy one? It all comes from your physiology, what you focus on, and the language that you use. What type of environment? It could also be your attitude. What does that look like to you? How do you maintain a wonderful attitude when your boss might be yelling at you, or someone's flipping you off on the road? And for me, I have a beautiful mantra. I bless you, I release you, I let you go. I bless you, I release you, I let you go. And I repeat it 3 times. And here's the reason why. I am not going to take on anybody else's stuff. It's not my job to try to calm down the boss. It's not my job to figure out why the boss is so mad. If you know in your heart that you've done everything well, you don't need to worry about it. Just bless them and let them go. Do not, if anything, do not take on other people's stuff. Heal thyself first before healing others. We must heal ourselves first before we can heal others. What type of environment and attitude are you creating for yourself, for your family? Community. This is like the social piece. This is the piece that we missed out on for 2 years when we had to be shut down, of being able to connect with people. Sure, we're connecting right now, but it's not quite the same of being live and being able to touch. Find a community to be part of. You know, I was doing an event for the square dancers. I did not know square dancers was such a big thing. A lady called me and I just did their event 2 weekends ago. And what I noticed is people are out dancing, they're out having fun, they're socializing, they're giggling. I was like, sign me up. Sign me up, because it's everything that we need right now to really be healthy and be thriving. Find a community. Granted, I wasn't the age group. They were all a little older. But I do know maybe when I get to that age, I might be signing up for square dancing. Just saying. But you know, I didn't even know square dancing existed to this day, and they've been meeting for 66 years. This was 66th annual event. They haven't been meeting for 2 years because of COVID, but they started meeting again. And it was a joy to be part of it. It brought me joy by watching people having such a good time. That's still a social piece. I was engaged, I was learning, and I was having a good time with it. Find your community to connect with, because that's golden. Because they're there to help you and you're there to help them. Family and friends. Golden rule. Be tight with your family and friends. Now, sometimes our families can be a little dysfunctional. I know it firsthand. But what I do know is I focus on the good of my family. I don't focus on the negative. It's just not worth it. It's too stressful. And the one thing I don't want to do is stress myself out. But family and friends are key. And you want to have quality family and friends, right? You want to have quality family and friend time. And sometimes that might be to where you just sit and let somebody else have the stage and let them talk and be there to listen for them. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be about us. But you want to work on your physiology when you go. You also want to make sure that your words are going to be intentional. And then also the language that you're speaking and what you're focusing on. So that triad is like a golden rule for me to use in all of these areas. And we have there for our partners and our loved ones. You know, a lot of things with our partners, they may not understand us, they may not be able to communicate well. But if you come from a place of love and you truly love those individuals, with your body, show that to them. With your focus, make sure that you're focusing on them. We're too distracted. We're too distracted. One thing that I learned 2 weekends ago with the square dancers, because it was a different age group, nobody was on their cell phones. For 2 days, nobody was on their cell phones. And yes, this was a different age group, but it taught me something. They were engaged with each other. They spent time with each other. And this is what's happening at our dinner tables and our breakfast tables. This doesn't keep families together, it tears it apart. So you want to schedule time to where we put these away and really engage fully, 100% with our loved ones. And then personal growth. It's exactly what you're doing today. You showed up tonight to do personal growth for yourself. You played along with the cute little active action items that I have given you. Physiology. You played 100% by using your voice. You were focused on what I'm delivering. You praised yourself because it's important that you're here and that you acknowledge that and you're aware of it. This is how you can be unstoppable. You want to create your wheel of life using the triad. And you want to take a moment and work through each one of these areas and ask yourself and come up with some clever words on, I'm a spiritual seeker, right? Spiritual seeker. I'm a money maniac. I'm a compelling career person. Doesn't that sound better than just saying career? Compelling career? That sounds fabulous. It's the words that you come up with that resonates with you. I really recommend that after our workshop is that take the time and go through the wheel of life. Come up with some fun, clever words. Because you're going to engage more with that. And then what you want to do is you want to schedule things on your calendar. On when you're doing your spirituality, when you're going to be focused on how you're making your money and being that money maniac. Maybe you're in sales, maybe you have a regular job, maybe you show up and you're getting a paycheck. That means you're taking care of business. And what you want to do is you have 1 through 10 here. You've got 1 through 10 of where you can highlight that I accomplished something. And when you highlight it, that you did something for that day or for that week, what you're going to see is how engaged you are in all of these areas. And this is important. And something that you want to know, and I'm sure everyone's thinking, well, how am I going to do this? I'm going to be sending you the worksheets through Gloria. Gloria is going to receive those either tonight or tomorrow, and then she's going to forward it on to you so you can actually go through this. It has all the instructions for you. But then you want to highlight. You want to highlight, I accomplished something. And then what you're going to notice, maybe you're spending a lot of time with family, but you didn't do much spiritual. And so what you want is you want to balance it. You want to be able to have like a complete circle. You want to be able to have, you're doing something, maybe daily or weekly, to keep this circle and keep the momentum that you're engaging. Because what's going to happen is once you get momentum, and if you want to go on a little drive with me for a little bit, what if I was only focused on money and finances and it was an 8? See where that 8 is? And then spirituality, well, I kind of fell short and I'm down at a 3. Going to go from an 8 to a 3. Now remember, you're driving a car. So you're up at 8 and you're going down to 3. And then, oh, we're going to look at personal growth. Oh, personal growth is at 5. Oh, I'm going to go up to 5. And then if you go over to loving your partner and your loved ones, maybe it's a 9. Do you see how it could be this roller coaster ride? And if you are driving a car on a roller coaster and you start getting momentum, do you think you're going to be able to control that car? No. Does that mean you're not really in control of your life because you don't have the balance? You want to balance all these areas because what happens is internally, our spirit is wanting you to balance all of these areas that are important to you. But when we get too focused on one area and we do a little, there's friction. We're out of alignment. We don't have that balance. That's what's important about the wheel of life, is finding the balance, scheduling it, making it happen, and then praising yourself. Because this is that process of rewiring. Schedule, take the action, and then praise yourself. And I'm jumping way ahead until July about our success cycle, because that is part of the success cycle that we're going to talk about in July at PWG. Does everyone have a good feeling for the triad? Can I see maybe ones, maybe do a 1 in the chat, or maybe put your hands up? We can't see everyone. We just want to make sure that everyone really understands the triad. That you want to focus on your physiology. You want to be able to focus on what's important to you, the positive or the negative, because that's where we can get stuck. And then also our language. But for personal development is to take a look at the wheel of life. And you don't have to remain with these categories. But most of these categories we all partake in. But maybe we don't do enough of one and we do too much of another, and we really want to find that balance. And I think at this time we can go ahead and open it to questions, because I wanted to make sure we left enough room to be able to do questions. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to let Gloria take over.
So I'm going to read you some of the chat.
I see one.
Do you see one?
I do.
Okay.
I figured something out with technology.
Okay, so we have Sakura, who, when you were talking about all of the anger or making ourselves angry, she said, I just did all of those things 2 hours ago. And some angry face and then happy smiley face. And then I said, I am with you, Sakura. No, I didn't do it 2 hours ago, but it's not that hard, right? Sometimes to go through that roller coaster, and I've certainly been going through that. And Sakura says, right, I needed this space and time. Teresa Donahue says, I love you so far, Cindy, with a smiley face. Sakura agrees, yes. Teresa shares that I have an interview tomorrow, and you were just talking about that attitude of going into the interview. So congratulations, Teresa. We're sending you good vibes.
Yes, send her a lot of love and energy, yes. And yes, definitely Teresa needs to let us know after tonight, how did her interview go tomorrow? How did she show up? How did she use that triad?
Yes. Sakura says, congrats, Teresa. Intencia says, awesome. Sakura says, I fell forward so many times. I'm loving the journey. Rachel says, see one, do one, teach one. Sakura, great point, Cindy. Sung, thanks, Cindy. Feeling is important. Sakura says, oh, that's great. Love it. Rachel says, this is so life-changing. Teresa, I need to be a better listener. I think I'm with you on that too. I need to be a better listener. It's hard, right? It's so easy to let our mouths run. But not so easy to sit there and listen, right? And Sakura says, thank you. And one, there's lots of ones here.
You know, Gloria, I want to stop you for a minute.
Yes.
And I'm glad we brought it up about being a better listener. There's something to be said when you're able to be comfortable within yourself to allow somebody else to have the stage, to allow them to have the moment. If you can learn how to just not have to always be the one providing advice, giving advice, always wanting to be wanting to be heard or wanting to be, having your voice heard. If you're able to allow somebody else to speak first, it changes a lot. Because this is kind of the battle between an ego. Sometimes we have this ego that steps in that says, but what about me? I want to say something. And this is a way to tame the ego for you to be comfortable within yourself, not having to say anything. It's okay to be silent. There's a lot to be said about the silence and being comfortable with it. So I just wanted to bring that up because sometimes we have this battle with the ego, wanting us to constantly be in control when we don't need to be in control.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I know, I don't know if you know who Trevor Noah is, but he was, I saw him in an interview and he was talking, he's from South Africa. And they said that one of their traditions that they have is you always ask about the other person first, and you sit there and you listen. And that's it. You want to hear about the other person before you start, telling everything about yourself.
Yes.
Right? Like a beautiful way. So here, continuing with the chat, Annie is saying, I need to stop being so hard on myself, learn more about staying focused, and stop neglecting my needs for others.
And I think a lot of us can resonate with this one because we are our worst critics. And that really comes to the point of you have done something really good today. And, for some people that I work with is helping them get their day started is huge. Praise yourself. Once again, we want to rewire ourselves because we are constantly negating all of the beautiful things that we are accomplishing. And if you get up in the morning and go, yes, I got up in the morning, instead of going, oh, it's another Monday, big difference, right? Woohoo, it's a great Monday. And it's going to be a glorious day. You set the tone for your day. And yes, we could be extremely hard on ourselves. And to address that, we could ask ourselves, what went really well today? What went really well today? And what will I do better tomorrow? Different verbiage, different words. Instead of, well, this went well, and well, that went really bad. You don't want to tell yourself that something went bad. You just want to tell yourself, what will I do better tomorrow? Complete different language that we're using. So that should help address when we are so hard on ourselves, or maybe we didn't accomplish everything we set out to accomplish, or maybe we're just too overwhelmed. You need to stop yourself. Once again, just stop, take a breath, and go, hold on a second. What have I accomplished today? What went well today? What will I do better tomorrow?
Very empowering.
Gloria is also taking notes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Oh yes, I have my page of notes here. Yes. Yeah, much more of an empowering way, right? To look at it. It's what will I do better tomorrow? I'm in control and I can do better tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Anya says, thank you. It was great. Eliana says, I also love you and love the triad. Laura says, love the triad. Bernadette, time to be happy and love yourself, self-love and affirmations every day. A word to bring light, not at the end of the tunnel, but while we're in the tunnel. Very nice. Very well said.
Absolutely. And you know, with those affirmations, you could also put your body into them. Like, this is going to be a glorious day. Sure, we could repeat words, but when you actually change your tonality and your voice and you put some physiology into it, it really helps rewire the brain faster. So when you're doing your affirmations, get into them, have fun with them.
Ooh, I like that. That's a new one for me. I do the affirmations too, and I look at myself in the mirror, but how great to add the body to it, right? Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Eliana says, oh yes, I also need to be a better listener. Tendi says, you're from South Africa too. Do you know Trevor Noah? I love him. Let's see. Rachel says, parenting can be difficult with young adults and letting them have the stage. I am going to work on this very much. Nice.
And you know, when it comes to parenting, we really want to guide our little ones to be successful. And we tend to like inundate them with our ideas. Maybe we need to listen to their ideas. Mm-hmm. This is where that conflict can come into place. And then when you think about the child not being able to have words or being able to express themselves, we're kind of telling them not to be unstoppable. We're actually stopping them in their tracks. You know, we're stopping their progress. Allow them to express themselves and hear what their ideas are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bernadette says, I know that I am possible. I had to start telling myself big positive things and started speaking things into the atmosphere and watched things come to pass, even in the midst of storms, tsunamis, tornadoes. But I survived and realized I have a purpose. Live on purpose.
And you know, we're going to be hit with storms on a regular basis. Life is going to throw us curveballs. I think that's why when I was growing up, we learned duck and cover drills. I don't think it was just for bad weather. I think it was also to teach us that life is going to serve up some curveballs, and we need to find a way to like get through those storms, because storms are going to happen.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes we make them happen, right?
Depending on what we're focusing on and what language we're doing, yes, we can create our own storm system.
Our own storm. Yes. Sandra says, thank you. I will be more positive and happy. Bernadette says, I just want to encourage each of us, because we are women and we are emotional, we are human, and we deserve to be happy. And yes, life is hard, but stop, drop, and roll. And she put a smiley face there.
I like to stop, drop, and roll.
Yes, yes. But so that's the end of the chat so far. But yes, right, I mean, when you think about it, like, how easy is that when we are so upset, right? I know that one of the things that I like to do, because I have suffered from depression, you know, I come from a very unhealthy family of origin. And so one of the things that I did for myself is that I created a happy song list, right? So when there's
Yes.
depression or when I'm not feeling, okay, I go to my happy song list, and there's songs that I can't help but start dancing and feel like happy and sing along. And that totally changes everything for me, right? It gets me going on a different direction so that I can face whatever has me in a little bit of a funk, right? So,
Well, and that's being aware of your state of being. Your state of being, you said you're in a funk. There's language there, right? You use some language, and then you also were able to focus that you wanted something different.
right.
So we actually do, we probably all do the triad and don't even realize it. Now what we're doing is making it at a conscious level and being aware of doing this on a regular basis, because you just don't have to do it for the wheel of life. You can do this in any situation. You could be maybe in a heated argument with a family member and go, "Oh, what's my physiology? What's my state of being? What language am I using? What am I focusing on?" And you could pull yourself out of that very quickly. And you can change that whole dynamic of maybe being in this heated argument or discussion really well. You can change it.
Yes, that's very helpful. I know for some of us, we have that one or two or maybe more people, right? But we all have at least one that can kind of get us going in that way, right?
And and people may push our buttons, but one of the things that you can do is you can sit back and just feel like, wow, what are they going through right now?
hmm And
What are they really mad at? In a sense, most likely they're not mad at you. You haven't done anything to create this. But what is their state of being, right? What are they focusing on? Are they just focusing on the negative?
mhm,
And
mhm,
are they just using those negative words and the language?
mhm,
You know, the questions that I really ask myself on a regular basis is, if I get stuck somewhere or something's not quite going right, I stop myself and do, what do I want? Like, what do I want out of this? Like, where am I going with this? Like, what's the end result that I want? What do I want?
mhm.
And then I ask myself, what is my physiology? Am I tense? I had this situation. I I was out jogging at the Cherry Creek Reservoir, and then you also have cyclists. So you're always having to like navigate. When I started my jog, I actually put myself in the wrong state of being. I was focused on a conversation that didn't go well the day before. And I was just so focused on what was said. It wasn't right. It was upsetting. And I was like reliving it. Well, next thing I know, a cyclist go by, and I am just like, seriously, you couldn't slow down. So what did I created my own storm. We just mentioned that I created my own storm because I was able to pull myself out of it, and I stopped myself and went, oh my gosh, why did I react that way? What did I do before I started jogging? Is I put myself in the wrong state of mind, the wrong state of being. I created this negative dialogue in my head. And then when something went flying by because I wasn't focused on the trail and focused on being present, I got upset. I got frustrated. It wasn't his fault. It was my fault because I put myself in that situation. So you also have to look at, why are people so upset? What are they going through? We may not know, but we can certainly help them by not being more agitated with them. Being more agitated is not going to help.
Right.
So once again, it's about having that curiosity. It's about asking questions. So I ask, what do I want? What is my physiology telling me? What am I focusing on? Positive or negative? What language, words, and phrases am I using to define my experiences, to define what's happening? These are the questions that you want to ask on a regular basis. You want to be like Sherlock Holmes of your life. And why is this situation happening? Why are people upset? And what can I do? What can I do not to be agitated with them?
Sounds good. Ola is saying thank you for the presentation. Sakura, I think being humble is amazing. Confidence is a huge aspect to creating a strong brand and business. Do you agree? And how is the best way to relate that to your customers? So she's asking a question here.
Okay, repeat it again.
So I think being humble is amazing. Confidence is a huge aspect to creating a strong brand and business.
Yep.
Do you agree? And how is the best way to relate that to your customers?
You know, when you come from a place of service or love, with anything that we do in life, you're going to win your customers over. And I think defining exactly what your clients want is going to help. Not to assume, not to think that that you may understand what they want. I think you really want to be able to ask questions. Once again, you need to be inquisitive. You need to ask your clients questions. You need to get them to tell you what is going to be best for them, what is going to work for them. We can't come from a place that we kind of know what's going to be good for somebody. So when you're creating a brand, what message do you want to deliver to somebody? What is the messaging that you want people to know you by? That, and then live by it. If you have a mission, then live by that mission. Does that help?
And you can unmute yourself and say if that was helpful, Sakura. There's also some more messages coming, so that might be a yes in there somewhere. Meanwhile, Bernadette says it's really challenging, though, when I experience things as a woman of color, but how I challenge my emotions based on the treatment. I challenge the action I am receiving and have the conversation or write about my experience, address it and my emotions and share solutions to help the situation I went through. I know some people can't understand it, but it's really what we face as women of color. And she's just sharing.
Yep. And it's very true. And it's very unfortunate that we still have such a stigma towards individuals of color. And I would say, I was extremely blessed when I grew up in Denver, Colorado. Back in the 70s and the 80s, I went to Manual High School. So predominantly Black neighborhood. The busing system was completely different then. I grew up in a diverse neighborhood. I have a very hard time understanding why a lot of other folks don't understand that we can get along. We can get along, we can have conversations, and we don't have to sit in judgment. But because our society has taught us differently, to think differently, it's unfortunate. It's hard for me to address the situation because I'm not of color, because I have not been discriminated against. I don't know what that feels like. But what I would say as a coach, what's more important is basically the quote that we have up here. There are two extremely important days of your life: the one that you were born and the one that you find out why. I truly believe each and every one of us has a purpose to be here. And Bernadette, maybe by you writing it out on your experiences, I think you should vocalize those, because I think communities need to hear it. If I don't hear firsthand the difficulties, I wouldn't know how to make the changes, right? We need to hear this. We need to hear your voice. I was watching the BBC yesterday, and they did a special on how Black Americans still will not be approved to get homes. And this is in Florida. It was in Miami. And they showcased a family, a Black family that has $1 million home. They have $100,000 in the bank account. And the mother wanted to try to help her son buy a house. They were denied. So it didn't matter of the financial means of the family. It was definitely the stigma that is still out there that is unfortunate. And the one way is to help bridge this big, huge gap that we have. And I'm surprised that we still have it in 2022, but we need to hear it. We need to hear what you're experiencing. The only way us of no color, I guess no color, I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but I'll put it out there. We need to hear it, right? I did not know that there was still this big stigma unless I didn't watch the BBC yesterday and saw that news clip on African Americans not being able to be approved for homes. Now, what did come out of that is there is a bank that does focus. It is a nationwide bank that does focus on helping Blacks, African Americans to get homes. And it's not based off of color. It is a Black-owned business that saw the need to help serve their community. So if I truly show up as your beautiful self, Bernadette, each and every day. Do not allow anyone to take away, just like me, someone trying to take away my vision of my business of calling it Sailor's Journey. When I work with counselors, they think it's an amazing thing. This one individual almost got me to change because she didn't like it. But what I chose was to stay true to myself. And that's what I would tell each and every one of you. Stay true to who you are. Show up as your beautiful self. And don't allow the namesayers change you. We already had enough of that. We need to see each and every one of you represent who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just share something? I mentioned that statement because that's what I do, and especially even where I'm from and where I live now here in Colorado, I share those things and have those uncomfortable conversations and write these documents and share them with any and everyone that I can, because I know my purpose and I found my purpose, and each and every day I try to find out what's going to make me better and make me impact the circle or the community that I live in, and to help other people. And, it's with this meeting tonight, it just reiterates my purpose. And, me sharing the things that I shared in the chat, I just, we have to see color, and the world seems like it's so shocked that we're still experiencing things. It's like, stop being shocked that it's happening. Stop being like, oh my God, racism still exists, or oh my God, they said that to you, and like, realize that, you know what, you are feeling that. What can I do, or what do we need to do as women to help each other and to make change? Laws can change in a week. Government and legislation has the power to do whatever they want to do. But as long as we act like we're so surprised and shocked, it's not going to change. And I'm just sharing that based on, but I'm boots on the ground. I found my purpose. Like I said, we have to live our purpose or live on purpose, because we all are here for a reason to touch and change each and every person that we meet. And like I share with somebody, I want to be Christmas every day. I want to give
Yes,
to I want to give to another woman, another child or family, because I notice like not to, instead of internalizing the anger, because a lot of
yes,
times we internalize what we experience as children, then we become angry women, and then we become, and I only learned this, I haven't been perfect. I learned this through counseling as an adult. And I was trying to figure out why was I reacting and feeling like this? And a counselor told me, and this is something that helps me all the time. And I'm gonna stop. He said, go back
oh,
to that 5-year-old Bernadette that wasn't protected or was hurt, or somebody told you those words, and go back to her. Like literally, almost you have to remove yourself out of yourself. And some people are like, that's weird, but you have to go. Like I went back to my 5-year-old self and told her, I love you. And you are not alone, and you
yes,
are not dumb, you are not ugly, you're not, because people who love us are supposed to can say some things that can kill us as children. And then what we experience as teenagers and by people we love, or just the circle we're in, or just trying to find ourselves. So I had to go back to the 12-year-old Bernadette, the 15-year-old Bernadette, the one who made all the mistakes. I'm like, you know what? That's okay. You did that, but look where
yes,
you are now, or the abusive situations I've been in. Like, you know what? Something was wrong with them.
yes,
It wasn't you. You
no,
survived that thing, and they're hurting, and you pray for them, and you keep it moving, and you forgive them. And the power of forgiveness is amazing. But I just
yes.
want to say thank you so much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Gloria, for being such a special woman to our group,
You're
and
welcome.
bringing these people like Cindy aboard. And I just want to encourage everybody just to, when you find your purpose, it's amazing. And be boots on the ground like soldiers. We have to be boots on the ground for each other.
And you know, Bernadette, I appreciate you sharing your personal experience, because and that's why I do what I do.
Mhm.
Is, you know, I could be another motivational speaker. I could be, you know, another inspirational speaker. I've
Mhm.
chosen to be a mental fitness speaker for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's because young folks, I'll be honest with you, in 6th grade, I experienced a classmate committed suicide.
Mhm.
And I really wonder, since that day, I still wonder what was the individual going through with the
Mhm.
thoughts.
Oh yeah.
And too much, you know, brilliant individual. We all wanted to be like this individual. We wanted to be that brilliant. But what type of pressure was the individual under?
Oh
What
yeah.
was happening in the household? We don't know.
Mhm.
But what I do know is when we have those automatic negative thoughts and the things that people have told us growing up, we don't have to stick with it. We can change it. And
Yeah.
that's why I've chosen to be that mental fitness speaker, is because we're not looking at these things. We're
Yeah.
not addressing them. And this is why hearing your story about going back to that child that was told certain things that they shouldn't have been told,
Mhm.
we're not raising, you weren't raised to feel worthy.
Mhm.
You
Oh yeah.
weren't raised, right? You weren't raised to feel worthy. And that's what we need to do, is we need to start raising our children to feel worthy, worthy of who they are, and celebrating that. But then those of us who have gone through experiences that have damaged us, is to
Mhm.
work through those to get to that worthy state, that
Oh
state
yeah.
of being. It's your state of being that is crucial. What is defining your state of being? And
And you know what I realized, and the people who were supposed to love me the most hurt me the most. But as an adult, I realized after having those conversations, and I'm just sharing with you all, I had a very abusive mother, and I had a father who wasn't there. And then after I grew up and became, I think I maybe was like 30 years old, I actually had a real conversation with my mother, and I found out my mother wasn't protected either. And a lot of times, and I'm not making excuses, but a lot of times those who love us weren't protected and they hurt us. And it's like a cycle, and it's a ripple effect. And those who have been hurt didn't get help. So they hurt those who they had, like the abuse, the domestic violence. And I'm like, why did my ex, it's a sick cycle. However, when like myself and I had a lot of stuff I went through and I had to heal. And some days are like sunshine, some days are like rain, but I find those affirmations and I find those words and I find a woman or I find something that I'm like, I'm gonna do that. And when I do it, then it creates more positivity. And Dress for Success has been here to help me along the way over the past 20 plus years. But I found out, and even with my children, like, I don't know who's struggling or has children, but I had young children with cutting issues. And it was just like, but when children are products of divorce, they suffer because you have angry parents who share things with the kids because they're angry, and then it makes the child grow up angry, and then you have to deal with all these layers. And I think a lot of times Pixar and Disney make movies for us. Shrek was a movie for an adult because we had layers, him and the donkey. And sometimes I have to go back. Sometimes I have to go back and watch these Pixar and Disney movies to say, talk to myself, or find it. If anybody is in a room and watch Shrek, because it was layers. And what Fiona thought she was ugly, and Shrek thought he was ugly, but then there's love. Love conquers all. And I just wanted to just share that. And that's my story. I could share so much, and I know it's not time, but I just wanted to say that because people were like, well, what did you go through? But it's like, those of us who've had our loved ones hurt us so much, and then it scars us. And sometimes the scars and the layers are so deep where we can't love ourselves or love anybody else. That's when you got to go back. And sometimes you have to go back maybe once a week and talk to the 14, 15-year-old. I was wild at a certain time. It's like, well, let me go back to her and talk to her about. So I'm just saying it, and I appreciate your unstoppable, because once you go back to those ages and heal that young person or that hurting little girl, you find out you are unstoppable, and all that stuff you went through it is what it is. But you can just like, you know what, it wasn't me, it was them.
And you could also like reframe things to say, when it rains, maybe you need that moment for the rain.
Look what the flowers do.
To wash things away so you can grow, right? Is that a time that we just need to wash things away? And then you could also reframe it in the sense of, was my life designed this way for me to go through these experiences
to help somebody else?
To help somebody else, but to break the cycle.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because with my children, I was able to identify the depression, and then I'm open. Talk to me about whatever it is you're going through, because our young people are suffering. They have even, with the social media, it makes it even harder. And then everybody thinks you're supposed to be thin and pretty, not knowing that those are apps. Or, even us as women, we're like, oh, I want to be like that. But yeah, I had to go.
Yeah. And this can also lead into your identity. When you start to define the areas of the wheel of life, of what defines you, and you start doing the triad for each of those areas, you're going to define your identity. And that's the identity that you want to connect with. So you could do the wheel of life with your kids.
Oh yeah, I do. I'm there, and I appreciate you, but I'm gonna stop talking because I could talk all day. But thank you so much for listening to me, guys. Appreciate you.
One of the practices that I do with the classes that I teach the career readiness classes. And one of the practices that we do in there is to look at all of those things that were hurtful, all of the pain, all of the stuff, and start looking for what was good. What are the skills that we gain? What are the talents that we we got from that experience? Because are we okay?
Bernadette, I'm sorry. That was Gloria. I think you were breaking up. You went digital.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So yeah, because there's always something good, right, from the experience. There's always some talent, some capacity. The fact that we survived what we survived, and that we're still standing, and that we're still working towards something positive in our lives, that's a testament to our fortitude, right? So, you know, there's always good stuff to that. And we have a ton of messages here. So Sakura says that is very true, Bernadette. And Tensia says, thank you for this meeting. It was very helpful. Sakura, thank you. That's great advice. And yes, Annie, I have to put into practice not to be reactionary. The problem is to eat at me, and I rethink over, and I just want to be able to do as you stated in your affirmation. I bless you, I release you, I let you go, and try not to take other people's stuff. That is true, right? How we play that over and over in our heads, right? Rachel says, I have been discriminated for my color and disability, and it is frustrating because it is a subject that will never change, unfortunately. Let's hope you're wrong on that. Let's hope that will change. I believe it's changing. I think a lot of what we're experiencing right now are those growing pains that we have to, grow as a society, and it's being painful, right? And Tensia says, it's amazing how different the world is. I didn't know I was Black until I moved here 2 years ago. Wow, okay. Tembi says, thank you. This was so helpful. Sorry, I have to leave. I will appreciate a copy of this presentation. Sakura says, thank you all. Teresa says, bless people, hurt people, which is very true, right? Laura says, thank you for sharing, Bernadette. And Bernadette says, so true, Gloria, our cheerleader. That's me. Thank you. Ola says, immigrants have extra layers of discrimination, especially if you have an accent. Yes. Yes. And Kylie says, thank you for everything. This was amazing.
So one of the things I would, ask is there's a difference between, doing a workshop and having our discussions, but it is all about taking active action. What are you going to start doing maybe after we get off this call or tomorrow? What are you going to do when it comes to your personal development? Start exercising the triad. Exercise that triad, practice it, and then start looking at that wheel of life and really start honing in on it, because a lot of times, and as Bernadette has mentioned, we lose our sense of identity because of all the cray-cray that's going on around us, from social media, from our communities, from how life brought us up, the things that we heard. We lose ourselves along the way. And I look at like adult tantrums, when we just have those outbursts or we snap. I call them adult tantrums because our identity, we are so far away from connecting to who our true inner self is. Our soul is screaming out to reconnect. Our soul wants us to live vibrant lives. And when we snap and have those outbreaks, it's because we are so far away from who we are. And that should be a sign. When we have an outbreak, we need to stop and reconnect with ourselves. And when you have that wheel of life completed, you can just pick it up and be able to reconnect to who you are. Your identity is important.
I think that's very great advice. So we have about 10 minutes left. Oh, actually, no. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes, 10 minutes left. Sorry. I have a few workshops going on this week. So if anyone has any other questions or would like to say something, please feel free to unmute yourself. We would love to hear you. Or you could also put your question in the chat. Bye, Intencia. So anyone else have a question? Oh, okay. We have Rachel here who says, Cindy, do you have a list of words or phrases available to be able to start using?
Oh, that is a very good question. I will definitely come up with something. It'll be a fun little project for me to put together.
And also a reminder that there is, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see the ants presentation that Cindy has on there, where she starts talking about some of the ants are the automatic negative thoughts, yes, that come to us, and how to tackle those as well. And so she has that on our YouTube channel, so feel free to go on there and start looking at some of the things, and she talks about how to change some of those. Any other questions? We're going once. No questions?
Boy, this is a quiet crowd today.
I know, today we're a little quiet. Well, I am going to say one thing in regards, because we talked, with Bernadette sharing what she shared, and so many echoes of that. And I like to think of the whole structure of racism, like if you had a Jenga game. We all know the Jenga game, right? All of the puzzle little pieces that you put together, right? And if you think of all of the isms, all of the reasons why we discriminate, right? Let's say someone, because of the color of your skin, or a particular ethnicity, right? You can think of those like all of the individual little pieces that you could possibly tug at them, but the structure is not going to fall apart, right? However, there's one piece, the very bottom, that's all one piece. If you pull that one, everything falls apart. And that one piece is the discrimination against women. If we target that one alone, not as Black women, not as Latina women, not as Asian women, but as women, and come together, that whole structure falls apart because it rests on us. We are the almost 51% of the population, ladies. If the discrimination ends against us, no one else can be discriminated, because we're all in there. Whatever else, we are women and we are Latina. We are women and we are Asian. We are women and we are Black. So all of those things that are used to discriminate against everyone else is also in that 51% almost of the population. So this is why I keep telling us, we have to join together. We have to come together. We have to protect each other. We have to love each other. We have to fight for each other. And we have to be there to support and care for each other as well. Yes?
That's so true, Gloria. And when we share what we experience, that's where we all need to come in and have empathy. Excuse me.
Yes.
Empathy for each other, and what can we do, like you said, together, because I don't know what everyone else experiences, but if you share your story or share how you feel, like Olga mentioned, even having an accent, but I love Olga's accent. Olga's beautiful. Olga is a really classy, sharp lady.
Very
So,
good, yes.
I would never know that she had issues or even a self-esteem or
Woo,
something,
there's Olga.
or about herself. But what I'm saying is, if we, when we share our stories, like if I come and share my pain or my pain points or whatever the case is, like, you may not understand it, but let's have empathy for each other. And like, what, that's something that she is experiencing. I have to believe that's something she's experiencing. What can we do to change it? And like I said, if we all come together, boots on the ground, as women and soldiers for each other, and fight for equality, equity, inclusion, and diversity, and all the things that they're trying to create now from a man's standpoint, because they can't understand it. And most men are the ones who are making the laws, which more women are now coming into play and more diversity. But if the people at the bottom start coming to the top, and the top understand that it's the people at the bottom that matter, and that's what Gloria said, women need women.
Well, the people on the very top. So I was a sociology major in college, right? And so you study groups of people and the power structure, right? So the people on the very top, which, like you mentioned, end up being male, right? A lot of times their interest is, how do we keep the power that we have?
Yeah, right. They don't want to give it up.
They don't want to give it up, right? And so if you are, a male, then your interest is to cut out automatically the biggest chunk of the population, and that's almost 51% of us who are female, right? That's how you do it. That's how you keep in control. And so for us women, we have to be very watchful. And right now, it's one of those times where we have to forget a lot of the other things that we were taught and things, and really focus on what are they doing with our rights, and have it be about, let's support each other in this, because the moment they take us, any right away, you have just weakened us all, and made us less than.
And we're stronger together, and we're better together.
Yeah.
And this might not come out right, but do we really need men?
Yeah.
Right?
It's always helpful to have those male allies, right? We need men. We need men to understand that we love them, and we raise them, and we have them, and that they need us.
Yeah, and we could certainly start raising men
exactly
to do better, right? And to treat us better. If we can teach them to know how to treat women better, we will be making a big milestone. I think that would be huge on how women should be treated. I think we have gotten so far away from that.
Yes. Let's see, we have here, let's see. Thanks. So Bernadette is saying, thanks for listening and allowing me to share a tip of my iceberg. Have a good night, you all. Oh, thank you, Bernadette. I love you.
Love you too.
Rachel says, can't live without the men. Yes. Yes, no, we definitely need men on board on this, right? Because it's also, men also have, children that are female. They're raised by a female. And when we're stronger, we can make them stronger as well, right? So it makes no sense at all, other than for a few selects sitting on the top to keep this going, right? So, well, Cindy, is there anything else you would like to share before we go?
Be unstoppable. Keep being you. That's what's the most important thing, is really connect with your true identity, and don't let anyone tell you different.
Yes. Thank you so much, Cindy. This was awesome. Thank you so much for what you do for us and for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us. Ladies, we go forward. Here's some positive things that we can say to each other. We go forth with courage, confidence, and belief in ourselves. Have a wonderful rest of your night. And thank you, Cindy, again. I love you all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Make sure you come to the PWG on Tuesday.
Yep. Be unstoppable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye, Olga.
It's
Ola, sorry.
Ola, by the way.
Ola. I'm really hungry, so now I'm starting to see things that are not there.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. Have a good night.